everybody, welcome back to the range. So today we're going to be doing our Fiocchi ammo test. So I've got my three different types of Fiocchi ammo. 25-yard range at one of the local conservation areas. It's a nice, beautiful day. We've got almost no wind. It's about 78 degrees. So I'm going to show you how I've set my target up and go through the design of this test. All right, so I've kind of designed this like an actual scientific experiment because this is going to be a multiple part test where I'm just going to be shooting every brand that I can get my hands on, and we'll just be breaking them down. And I'm going through it this way so that we can try to keep all of the variables the same. So the first constant we're going to have is that it's a 25-yard range, and I'm going to use this same range for every single test. We're going to be using the same rest system, meaning I'm going to have the same Caldwell front rest on all of the guns, and the rear rest will just be me. I know that there are better ways to do it, but this is how we're going to do this this test. Another constant, it's all going to be done at 25 yards. We're going to use the same style of target, and I'll show you those in a minute, of how I've got the target set up, but we're going to be using the exact same style of target every single time, which is a poster board with 2-inch circles on it. Now, for this test, we are going to be using 3 different guns and 3 different ammos. The only constant with the ammo is that it's all Fiocchi. The first variable with the ammo is going to be the type. We have a range dynamic, which is a 40 grain total metal jacket, a shooting dynamic, which is a 40 grain jacketed soft point, and a field dynamic, which is a 40 grain jacketed hollow point. The other variable is we're going to be using 3 different guns, a CZ 457, a Savage 93, and a Marlin 983S. Now, other things that we're going to keep constant for this test is we're going to be shooting 5-shot groups from each rifle. All of the rifles have been cleaned and properly oiled prior to coming out, and they were all cleaned at the same time. After each 5-shot group, we're going to run a dry bore snake down the barrel of each, just to make sure that any fouling is out. We're not going to re-lube or re-clean. We're just going to run it one time. And I'm going to complete this process for every brand that we try. Like I said, this one here is for Fiocchi 22 Magnum ammunition only. So one more thing to say about variables. The biggest variable we're going to have during all these tests is the wind. I don't have a way to measure it right now, but it's very, very light. It's hardly even noticeable today, but I can't say that's going to be the same for every test. I will say that this is about grouping and not really about hitting the center. Okay, so here's how I've got my target set up. Now this is just a big sheet of poster board. Got 2-inch circles here. We're going to be shooting 3 different guns and the 3 different ammos at each one. Okay, here are the guns that we're going to be using. Of course, we have the CZ that you guys see me hunt with. I'm not taking my cameras off, but I'm also not going to use them. That won't stop this test at all. And then the Marlin that you guys have seen on a video, and this one is actually my son's Savage 93. It's a bolt action. It's just a left hand for him. Only difference is, of course, these two are top and the bottom are scoped. This one is not, but I'm going to be drawing the same bead, and it's 25 yards. That shouldn't actually mess with performance. Okay, we are all loaded up with the Field Dynamics, the 40 grain jacketed hollow points, and let's do some shooting. Okay, I'm going to drop the magazine. Run the bore snake through. Okay, and that is how we're going to do. That's how we're going to do each and every one. Okay, now we're all loaded up with the Range Dynamics. These are 40 grain total metal jacket. Well, that one be interesting to see that last shot. I wasn't actually ready and put my finger on the trigger too soon, so we'll see where that one goes. Anyways, that's the CZ. Now we're going to switch to the Savage. Okay, this is the Savage 93 with the jacketed hollow point Field Dynamics. This one's going to be kind of weird being a left-handed bolt action and I'm a right-handed shooter, but okay. We'll run the bore snake through it. Get loaded up again. Okay, 40 grain jacketed soft point Field Dynamics. I'm sorry, Shooting Dynamics. Okay, these are the Savage range dynamic total metal jacket, 40 grain. Okay, we're going to switch to the Marlin. Okay, this is the Marlin 983S, loaded with the 40 grain jacketed hollow points. Okay, now we will run the bore snake through it, get loaded up with the next one. All right, we're all loaded back up. The 40 grain jacketed soft points. Okay, do it again. All right, now we are all loaded up. The 40 grain total metal jackets, the range dynamics. Okay. Now, go down and take a look at the results. Okay, so we're at the target. A couple of things I've noticed is that the CZ is shooting to the left. Now the CZ is not sighted in. None of them are sighted in with these bullets, but the CZ is really not sighted in with the 40 grain bullet. But that shouldn't make a difference left to right. That should make a difference up and down. So the jacketed hollow points out of the CZ are actually off the target, this group here. Now, this group here are the soft points right there. And this group here, right here, are the Total Metal jackets. Now, like I said, these are 4 bullets in one hole, and this is that one that I was like, holy cow, I touched the trigger too soon. That's really dang good. So the Savage is shooting high. This is that group for the hollow points. This is the group for the soft points, and this is the group for the Total Metal jackets. The Marlin. Okay. There you got the hollow points, the soft points, and the jackets. Now, let's actually sit down and do some measurements and reach a little bit of a conclusion. Okay, so I hope you can see this well. I don't have a camera person with me. So I went up and measured the grouping that was off the target, and it measured 0.7 inches top to bottom and 0.25 inches left and right. So, and we're going to measure. Now I'm taking it from the top of one of the highest to the top of the lowest. And that right there is at 0.625 inches top to bottom. And the widest part is 0.575 inches left and right. Now, we're going to do this 2 ways because I know that this shot was me doing something wrong. But we're going to add that in the first time anyways. And right there, we are at exactly 1 inch top to bottom. And a whopping 0.25 inches left and right. Now, if we take into account just this group, we are at 0.425 inches top and bottom. Now we're going to do that for each and every one. So this one we are at 1.625 inches top to bottom. And draw a straight line down here just so I have something to reference and to measure from. And we are at 1.325 inches left and right. Top to bottom here, we are at 0.925 inches top to bottom, so under an inch with soft points. That's good. And exactly half an inch left and right. So again, we are at 1.7 inches top to bottom, and 0.875 inches left and right. All right, now for the marlin. My line over so it's easier to measure. And I am at 0.825 inches top to bottom. And left to right. I'm going to draw my axis that way. And I am at, just a smidge under an inch, but it's so close, we're going to call it 1 inch left and right. Okay. The soft points, we're at 0.825 inches top to bottom. And left and right, they're all right next to each other. We are at right at half an inch left and right. Now, top to bottom here, we are at 1.125 inches top to bottom. And again, these are all right next to each other. Gotta hold my tape measure upside down so I can get to the decimals. So let's do it. That way, because that will get me all right, and we're at 0.7 inches left and right. Okay, so we're not actually going to be able to draw any real scientific conclusions. The main thing being, as you all know, each rimfire likes its own thing. So to really get this, we would have to duplicate it with, maybe 3 or 4 of the exact same rifles. So 3 or 4 CZs, 3 or 4 Savages, so on and so forth. But for this test and for my guns, we can draw a few half-hearted scientific conclusions as far as the Fiocchi goes. Remember, this is just Fiocchi, no other brands. First conclusion is that I lost my black marker. I don't know where it is. It was sitting on the table, and in a whopping 40 minutes, it's gone. So I need to buy a new black marker. Second conclusion, when it comes to the CZ taking out the little flyer, first off, all of the Fiocchis were under an inch, and a squirrel's head is about 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches, depending on the size of the squirrel, of course. Your little red squirrels and little gray squirrels are a lot smaller, but your big fox squirrels are bigger, of course. So for the CZ, they were all under 1 inch, which is a great grouping. The total metal jacket is what it liked the most. But to be honest with you, they were all good. They're all able to kill the squirrel. So this would be something out of my CZ that I would absolutely 100% want to shoot. Third conclusion is that the CZ obviously is not as on as what I wanted, so it needs sighted in. Conclusion number 4. In regards to the Savage, so they're all shooting high. I'm not going to adjust sights because this is my son's gun and it's sighted in for him, and he's been doing just fine with it. I'm not a left-handed shooter, so while that may have played into my not hitting the bullseye, that didn't actually affect where the groups were. They were all high for me. So they all did what, they were all consistent, which is what we're looking for. And it's pretty clear that the hollow points were not great at all. I was shooting the same, taking the same bead, aiming at the same spot for every shot. So while some of it may have been lack of familiarity with the gun on my part, that certainly didn't hurt everything, because the soft points were well under an inch group. So for the Savage 93, the jacketed soft points were definitely better in it. I would not shoot the hollow points out of it. And the total metal jackets, my son may be able to get a better grouping since he's more comfortable with this gun than I did. But if I'm taking the gun out, I'm going to stick to the soft points on that. Now, as far as the Marlin goes, I was shooting slightly left, but consistently left with all of them. So the jacketed hollow points were still an inch or less. They were an inch left and right, and 0.825 top to bottom. Now the soft points were still 825 top to bottom, but the soft points actually lowered to 1/2 inch left and right. So the group got tighter on that. The total metal jackets were different though. They got wider. So left to right was better. It was at 0.7 inches, so almost 3/4, but 7/10. But they were just over an inch, just an 1 1/8 top to bottom. So we're going to go with in the Marlin, the soft points were the best, provided the best grouping. So couple of things. I can't take into account the wind. I mean, it's a variable. I can't take it into account. So the wind is a variable. But I tried to shoot when the wind wasn't blowing as much, and it's really not. You can probably barely see it on screen. It's not much at all, as we have a little bit of a gust that picks up. And mostly the wind is blowing slightly left, but mostly it's blowing towards me. So that slight left, it's not blowing enough to at 25 yards to cause the deviation from that we saw. It just doesn't have as much time to impact that bullet, to factor in on that bullet. I think the biggest conclusion, if I was only going to pick one of these, if I was only going to stock one type of ammunition and I was going to shoot it out of all three of these, it would be the jacketed soft points. The jacketed soft points, the shooting dynamics provided the best grouping among all three rifles. The hollow points were all over the place. They did provide a really good grouping with the CZ, but they were all over the place with the Savage, and they weren't very great with the Marlin. So not sure that I would use, again, if I'm only picking one, I wouldn't use those. Now, the Total Metal Jackets actually provided the best grouping in the CZ, and a not great grouping at all in the Savage. I might be able to tighten this up in the Marlin. It's still good enough to kill a squirrel, but not really what I would want to take out into the field. So honestly, I thought that the Total Metal Jackets across the range would be the best, but across the board on these three, it's these jacketed soft points. 1910 feet per second. It's not, they don't have much of a, they don't show much lead at all, really. They're just, it's just a, I don't know if you can even see that on camera. It's just a little itty bit of lead pointing out there. I mean, it's like a pencil that needs sharpened. Anyways, so I've got some other ammo that we're going to test out. It'll be on a different video, and I'm going to keep acquiring a lot of this 22 Magnum and really go through what I can get my hands on. And I think I'm going to break it down into brands. Aside from, like, Browning, there's only one brand, and I mean, there's only one type of Browning, and the Arms Corps, there's a few that there's only one of. So we may just lump those all together. But thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments.